The night the blizzard sealed the valley, every man in the village thought he was going to die, except for the fool in the windmill. Inside, David Reeves bolted the heavy oak door behind him, his dog already curled by the hearth. Across the valley, cabin walls groaned as ice split the rafters, and every gust tore more heat from the rooms.
Storm screaming itself hoarse out there. Not a single draft inside.
2 years earlier, David Reeves first stood at the foot of that windmill.
Looks like a tomb, but the walls are 3 feet thick.
He pushed aside the rotted door and stepped into the hollow tower. Dust floated in the cold light.
Round stone, built to take the wind head on.
He pressed a calloused hand against the stone. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he heard Emma coughing again. He didn't know he'd be called a fool. He only knew the wind couldn't reach this place. 3 days later, David walked into Martha's general store, the bell above the door cutting through the silence.
Well, if it ain't the ghost hermit, you reckon you can turn that old tower into a palace?
The walls are 3 feet thick. They'll take the heat.
Heat won't matter when the wind slices through every crack. That tower is a sieve. David.
Sieves. That's what killed Emma. A house full of invisible knives.
He saw her then, wrapped in quilts, her cough rattling the thin window panes of their old cabin.
You'll freeze out there, Reeves. That tower's been empty for 50 winters for a reason.
Maybe it was just waiting for someone who knew how to seal a wall.
He laid coins on the counter and walked out, the bell ringing again behind him.
Let them talk. The wind won't slip through this time. Not like before.
The first week, he cleared out decades of bird nests and broken beams, the dog watching from the doorway.
Needs a solid floor and a stove. Heat rises if you keep it from escaping.
Mister, is it true you are going to live in here all the way up?
That's the plan. You, the curious one from the village I keep hearing about.
Sam, I told you to stay away from here. Come away, now.
By the next morning, Old Man Harris was waiting outside his cottage, ready to offer his verdict.
That tower's a death trap in winter. The fool'll freeze solid come first snow. Mark my words.
David turned back to his work, packing the seams of the round windows with cloth and beeswax, ignoring every voice.
Every crack sealed is one less place for the wind to find her.
By the 7th day, the ground floor looked less like a ruin and more like a workshop waiting for a hearth. He lit a small fire in the hearth and held a candle near every sealed seam.
The flame didn't move. No drafts. The stone soaked up the heat like a lung filling with air.
By nightfall, the first real snow began to fall, dusting the valley in white. Tom Granger leaned on his porch rail, watching the windmill's distant chimney smoke, with a hard squint. Inside the windmill, David had finished the upper floor. A bed, a lamp, thick quilts piled high.
It's ready, or as ready as anything can be.
Mr. Reeves, my ma's not looking. Can I see the upstairs?
Come on in, but wipe your feet, and don't tell your mother.
Sam stood in the upper room, mouth open. The heat wrapped around him like a blanket.
He doesn't need to understand. The stone understands for both of us.
A week of squalls swept the valley. David found a hairline crack near the door and packed it with oakum before dawn.
Water could freeze in there, split the stone wider. Not on my watch.
Darn place is colder than a barn. How's that fool in the tower managing?
He isn't. He's just too stubborn to admit he's freezing.
David overheard them from the woodpile. He set down his axe and walked over.
I can show you how to seal that flue, Tom. Won't take an hour.
I don't need lessons from a man living in a ruin. Keep your tricks.
David shrugged and went back to his work. That evening, Sam found him at the windmill, eager as ever.
How come your floor's never cold, Mr. Reeves?
Far to the north, a bank of cloud black as iron began to stack against the peaks. 2 mornings later, David studied the sky from the ridge. The black bank of cloud had swallowed the northern peaks, and the air had turned deathly still. He hauled the last of his firewood inside, then drove thick boards across the doorframe, sealing himself in. At the Grady cabin, David found the front door ajar. Inside, Eileen was bundling rags into a crack in the wall, her face tight with worry.
That rag won't stop a full blow. If the snow pile's heavy, that roof could split.
You've already put foolish ideas in Sam's head. Keep your warnings to yourself and stay away from my son.
But Ma, he's right. The tower never gets cold.
Sam, enough. Go to your room. Get off my doorstep, Reeves.
David didn't argue. He looked at Sam, nodded once, and walked back into the thickening snow. By dusk, the storm hit in earnest, and the windmill sang a deep, steady note as the wind wrapped around its walls.
Let it try. Every crack is sealed. Every stone is holding. This time I built a place the wind can't reach.
Through the long night, the blizzard deepened. David sat by the hearth, the dog at his feet, sipping warm broth.
No drafts, no creaking beyond the heavy stone. Just the fire and the dog's slow breathing.
In the village, the wind hit the wooden cabins like a fist, shingles tore loose, and walls shook with every brutal gust. At the Grady cabin, Eileen held Sam close as the roof groaned above them, the beams bowing under the weight of the snow.
Ma, is it going to fall in?
Not if we stay awake and pray, Sam. Just stay close.
A sharp crack split the dark, and plastered dust rained from the ceiling.
That beam won't last. We need to get under the table.
They crawled beneath the heavy oak table, Sam clutching his mother's shawl. But in the windmill, the round tower held firm. The blizzard screamed around it, but the thick stone walls turned its fury into a low, steady hum, and the fire never wavered. A sharp crack cut through the storm's howl. David climbed to the upper floor, pressing his face to the iced-over round window. Through the whiteout, the valley was a smear of gray and black, every cabin a dark mound beneath the snow. In the Grady cabin, the main beam had split, and Eileen lay pinned beneath the wreckage.
Ma, wake up! Ma, please.
David couldn't see it, but he felt the sound in his chest like a second heartbeat.
I'll get help. Mr. Reeves, he'll come.
David stood frozen at the glass, his hand pressed flat against the cold stone. Emma, he whispered the name to the cold glass, a prayer to no one. The windmill held steady, but inside David Reeves, something had already cracked. In the cabin, Sam wrapped his mother's shawl tighter and stared at the dark, snow-choked doorway. The wind screamed like a living thing. Sam took one last look at his mother, then stepped into the blinding white. The wind nearly knocked him off his feet. He pushed forward, remembering what Mr. Reeves said. The windmill was the warmest place in the valley.
There, a small shadow moving through the drifts. Not a trick of the light.
David's heart hammered. He turned from the window and rushed down the spiral stairs, the dog at his heels. At the door, he pressed his ear to the frozen wood, straining to hear past the storm. A faint sound, like a child calling, or maybe just the wind playing tricks on a guilty mind.
Not leaving this time. Not like with Emma.
His hand closed around the latch. He didn't lift it. Not yet. Outside, the blizzard roared like a beast denied its prey. David stood in the dark, waiting for the sound to come again. Then it came, not loud, but desperate. 3 weak blows against the frozen wood.
Not the wind. Someone's really out there. Move.
He threw back the bolt, and the wind nearly tore the door from his hands, snow howling inside.
Sam, I've got you.
He hauled the boy inside and slammed the door, driving the heavy bolt home against the screaming storm.
Mr. Reeves, the roof fell. Ma's trapped under the beam.
Emma's face. The same pale lips, the same shallow breathing.
He looked at the boy, then at the bolted door. The blizzard screamed on. Outside, the blizzard tightened its grip. Inside, David felt the cold hand of a choice he couldn't make. Sam shivered by the fire, but the warmth couldn't touch the ice spreading through David's veins.
Please, Mr. Reeves, she can't breathe under there. We can't just leave her.
Emma in that drafty room. I left and came back too late. Not again.
David opened his mouth to say yes, but then the wind hit the tower with a sound like a falling pine, and the whole building shuddered.
Sam, listen. It's a second wave, stronger than the first. Go out there now, and I won't make it to your mother either.
But she'll die. You can't just let her die.
I can't save her if I am dead in a drift. I learned that lesson in the coldest way possible.
He pulled the boy close. Sam's shoulders shook, but his sobs were swallowed by the howling dark.
We wait, just until the worst passes. I promise you, Sam, I will go, but not now.
Sam fell silent. his small hand gripping David's sleeve, as if it was the only solid thing left in the world. Outside, the second wave hammered the stone. Inside, they waited, David staring at the bolted door, counting every minute, praying that the wind would break before she did. The second wave screamed with a voice that made the first storm feel like mercy. Snow pressed against the round windows like a second wall.
Mr. Reeves, will it ever stop?
It will. This tower's taken worse blows long before us. You know why I picked it, son? Because I once had a wife called Emma. Our old home had thin walls and too many cracks. A draft killed her. I sealed every seam in this place, every crack. The wind won't steal anyone else from me. Not you, not your mother.
But you are gonna save her. You promised.
Sam's eyes grew heavy, and soon his breathing slowed against David's shoulder.
I couldn't save Emma, but this boy's mother is still alive. I won't fail twice.
Hours bled into each other. David fed the fire, listened to the wind, and prayed for morning. In the dark, the old windmill clung to its warmth while the valley outside was slowly buried, and David made a vow to the stone. If the storm gave him a crack, he would walk through it. Morning came gray and dim. David climbed to the upper window and saw only white. The drifts had buried the door completely. He tried to dig a way out, but the snow had packed against the door like concrete. The shovel handle snapped.
The door's buried. Even if I broke through, I'd be lost in minutes, just like last time.
Mr. Reeves, can you see our cabin? Is there any smoke?
Don't ask me that. Please don't ask me that. I can't see anything, Sam. The snow's too thick. But I will go. Just not yet.
They spent the long morning in silence. Sam kept looking at the door, then back at David, the question unspoken. Finally, David lowered himself onto the hearthstones and buried his face in his hands.
I am sorry, Emma. I am sorry, Sam. I swore it wouldn't happen again.
Sam put a hand on David's shoulder, but the man couldn't look up. The storm kept howling.
I couldn't save her, Sam. The drafts in our old house, they took her right out of my arms.
But this place doesn't have drafts. You said so. Ma is still alive.
He's right. This tower already protected us. My old walls couldn't do that.
Something shifted in David's chest. Not forgiveness, but a flicker of resolve.
When the wind drops, I am going. No matter what, I won't let another mother die under a beam.
I'll come. She needs me too.
Number, you keep the fire fed and stay with the dog. If I fail, this tower will keep you alive.
Sam nodded, silent, but his eyes were bright with something like hope.
Forgive me, Emma, but maybe this time I can make it right.
The wind shrieked outside, but David Reeves rose to his feet, a man with a purpose again. David pulled on his heaviest coat and looped a rope over his shoulder. A flask of hot broth went into his pack.
What if the storm comes back worse?
Then I'll come back and wait again. But your mother doesn't have time for me to be careful. If I am not here, slide this bolt home. Don't open it for anyone but me. When I come back, we'll all be warm.
As he spoke, David noticed the howl outside had dropped half an octave. A window.
It's easing. Stay by the fire. Stay with the dog.
David threw the bolt, and the door opened with a screech. Snow pouring in. The dog whimpered. He turned once to look at Sam, then stepped into the white. The windmill's warm glow was the last thing he saw before the storm swallowed him. The snow swallowed him hip-deep in places, and the wind still cut like a blade. He aimed for where the Grady cabin should be, counting his steps.
30 paces east, then the ridge of that fallen pine. Don't lose direction.
The cabin was nearly invisible, a dark hump in the white. Only a corner of the roof still showed above the drift. He clawed at the snow, hands numb, calling her name into the wind. He shouted for Eileen, but the wind tore the words away. For a long moment, only wind answered. Then, faint as a whisper, a single word drifted back.
Still alive. Move.
He tore at the frozen debris until his fingers split. A beam shifted, and he saw her, pale but breathing.
I am here, Eileen. Sam is safe. I am getting you out.
He braced himself against the beam and heaved. The wreckage groaned, and snow poured in, but the weight slowly began to rise. The beam groaned upward, and he dragged Eileen free. He didn't wait. He lashed her to his back and pushed out into the storm.
Not dead. Not yet. She's alive, and Sam is waiting.
The path had vanished. Every drift looked identical in the whiteout. He stepped wrong and slid into a deep drift, snow rushing into his collar. Eileen moaned.
Can't fall again. If we go down, we both freeze where we drop.
He clawed his way back onto the hidden path, every muscle burning. A sudden lull in the wind, and through the snow he saw it, the faint yellow square of the windmill's upper window. He locked his eyes on that light and pushed through the chest-high snow, step by dragging step.
Just the glow. Don't look away. It's right there. Keep moving.
The storm redoubled its fury, but the light never wavered, and he refused to let go. He slammed his fist against the windmill door once, twice, then sagged against the frozen wood, gasping her name.
Mr. Reeves, Ma.
Sam threw the bolt and David stumbled to his knees, Eileen still bound to his back, her breath shallow. Together they lowered her by the fire. Sam pulled the blanket up to her chin, his hands trembling.
Ma, can you hear me? She's so cold.
Sam, you are safe.
David watched them from beside the fire, his hands still bleeding, his chest heaving.
She's going to be all right, Sam. We're all going to be all right.
Sam threw his arms around David's neck and sobbed. David held him, his own tears finally falling. The wind howled on, but inside the round stone tower, two broken families had become one, and the old windmill held them safe. David woke to an unfamiliar sound. Silence. The blizzard had stopped. A shaft of pale sunlight fell through the upper window, catching motes of dust like gold. Downstairs, they dug out the buried door together, their hands numb, but the sky was finally clear. They stepped outside into a world erased, every cabin a white mound, but the windmill stood tall, its stone untouched.
Where's our house, Ma? I can't even see it.
It's gone, Sam, but we're here.
Not a crack, not a single draft. The old mill held. We held.
They stood together on the ridge, the windmill's frozen sails casting long shadows across the snow. The red arrow on the weather vane still pointed into the vanished wind, a silent testament. The village below lay broken, but the round tower everyone abandoned stood exactly as David had promised, the warmest, strongest shelter in the valley. By midday, dark figures emerged from the drifts, stumbling toward the only intact building for miles. They found David near the fire, his hands wrapped in rags, Eileen resting on a blanket with Sam at her side.
Reeves, I said this tower was a death trap. I was wrong. You made it a sanctuary.
It just needed sealing. Anyone could have done it.
I was a proud fool. Shake my hand, Reeves.
Shake.
I'll bring bandages and broth from the store. We'll keep this fire fed for everyone.
By dusk, the windmill's hearth was the village's hearth. Blankets were shared, broth passed hand to hand. Old man Harris sat by the fire, nodding slowly, the weight of a long winter finally lifting. The windmill had become what David always knew it could be. Not just his shelter, but theirs. In the weeks that followed, the valley slowly clawed itself back from the snow. Every cabin rebuilt carried a lesson David had taught.
You were right about sealing the seams. My new place hasn't had a draft in 3 days.
Mr. Reeves, are you going to stay at the windmill forever?
I think so. It's home now, and there's room enough for you and your mother.
Spring came, and David repaired the old sail, the red arrow turning lazily in a warm breeze.
I think of Emma now without the old sharpness. She'd like that the windmill has a family again.
Eileen and Sam moved into the upper floor. The tower rang with the boys' laughter and the warm scent of baking bread. The old windmill no longer stood alone on the hill. It had become the heart of something new, and David Reeves, the fool who sealed every draft, finally rested his calloused hands. The valley had called him crazy, but the old windmill had called him home. One evening, David and Sam sat on the upper floor, the dog between them, watching the sunset paint the valley gold.
Mr. Reeves, why does that red arrow always point the same way?
It points into the wind. That's how the mill works. And that's how we survive. You don't fight the wind head on. You find a place it can't enter. Then you seal every crack. and you let it pass around you.
Like the stone walls, like the windmill.
Exactly. The wind howls, but it never gets inside. Not here, not ever again.
Sam leaned against David's shoulder, and the dog sighed contentedly. The tower was silent, except for the soft creak of the turning sail. No storm touched them. No draft chilled their skin. The man, the boy, and the dog held in the heart of the old windmill. The red arrow pointed steadily, and David Reeves, the fool who sealed the wind out, smiled. Sometimes the safest place is the one the world forgot. All it takes is a man willing to fix the cracks.